And I'm going to take you through right from the beginning now, where you would log on to Public Contracts Scotland. So we do use a lot of acronyms. So if I say something and you don't know what it means, either pop it in the chat or put your hand up and Fran will interject and let me know, because sometimes when you're sharing a screen, you don't get to see people putting their hands up. So this is Public Contracts Scotland. Hopefully this is familiar to you and it's a site that you've used before. There is a separate webinar that focuses entirely on Public Contracts Scotland if you do want to know a bit more about this website. But the first thing we would do is search for the notice. So there's that top left hand box there, search for notices. You can see here this little circle that goes round and round. That basically means it's working, because quite often I'll be thinking, oh, maybe I haven't pressed the button, but it just takes its time. So if we go in here, I'm actually going to look for, and we know it's civil engineering. I'm not going to put the whole thing in. I'm just going to put civil. And we know it's the Scottish Government. Just make sure that you spell it right, because it won't pick it up if you don't spell it correctly. We know in this case it's a contract notice. I'm not going to change this as a current opportunity, because it could actually be that they put it down as a future opportunity or something. Because it's a dynamic purchasing system, it's a bit different. So rather than getting a false result, I'm just going to leave it at all notices just now. And what these do is it just filters out all of the adverts, because you'll be there forever going through all of these notices trying to find it. So then at the bottom left, we click search notices. And at least this time it's got the little circle on the screen, so you know it's working away. And here at the top, this is the one that we're looking at today. It's a Civil Engineering Dynamic Purchasing System Scotland, and it's for projects that are up to £5 million worth of value. So for anybody who was already at the session the Scottish Government held, they went through the different lots and regions and things like that. And I think there were some questions there that they will have hopefully answered by now. But let's just click on it. So if you click on the top bit, it's actually a hyperlink, and that takes you through to the next part of it. You can see here there aren't really very many icons here. There's a UK flag there, which indicates that it's above the value that would only be required to advertise in Scotland. So it's one that's been advertised UK-wide. In the old days, it would have been European-wide, but because of Brexit, it's now UK-wide. So that's been advertised in Find a Tender Service, FTS. Doesn't matter to you. You found it in PCS, and that's what we're going to focus on. So just a couple of things to point out here. It is down as a contract notice, so it doesn't matter, but it's just useful to know. And the other thing is the deadline is the 4th of October 2030, so 6 years from now. So what I would say to you is it means that there's no real burning platform in terms of you applying. You could wait months if you want, but I did notice on the Scottish Government session that there is a pipeline of work waiting for this to be awarded. So what it would mean is if you didn't apply right away, then you might not be on this dynamic purchasing system in time for these first opportunities to be let through the DPS. So even though there isn't actually a deadline that's the normal deadline, like 3 or 4 weeks, what I would say to you is don't hang about, get yours in as soon as you possibly can. There is, apart from missing out on possible opportunities, also there is a chance you might not get it exactly right the first time, and they might get it back to you and say, this and this needs changed, or it highlights that you need to do further work, and then you would then have time to do that and go back in and do that. So these are 2 good reasons why not to hang about, even though you've got lots and lots of time. And it is a luxury, I have to say, to have a deadline that isn't just in a few weeks. So here you can see it just tells you a little bit about the actual tender itself and the sort of things you're required to do. Being the Scottish Government, they do have to be you know, at the forefront of policy, and therefore you'll see things as we go through it, like having environmental and carbon reduction plans and so on. So with this one, you can't actually express your interest in Public Contract Scotland itself, because they're using a different website to run the tender. They're using a website called PCST, or PCS Tender. And to respond to this one, we'll have to go in there. So can I just have, although I might not be able to see it, but Fran will hopefully tell me, a wee show of hands to say who's actually used PCST before.
Caroline, Laura, Daniel have all put their hands up.
Right, so that's good.
Perfect.
Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to log in as me. Always does this little thing, I don't know why. I'm going to make sure that I'm logged in as me. Then I am going to go into the suppliers area. So there is a little thing you can do if you haven't done it already, which is to link both of your accounts for PCS and PCST. I am going to go in via my link that I've done, Access PCST, but actually before I do that, just wanted to point something else out to you. In this notice, it's in PCST and it says the project code is 24516 and it's in the PQQ section. So it's important to note both of these things because you'll need that when we go to the actual PCST itself. So there really isn't much more you use PCS for in this case. That's really it. And then all of the work is going to be done on PCST. So this is the home screen here. If you need to, you'll need to register on this. It's very, very straightforward. And if you're already registered, then you just need to log in. This already automatically logs me in because I've got the single sign-on link. So the reason that you need to note whether it was a PQQ or not is because you'll see when you come to this home screen, it's just a dashboard. We are going to look for a PQQ. So we go into PQQs, and what you'll see here is all of the PQQs that are being run using PCST. And again, it could take you a wee while to go through this and figure out which one is most relevant for this one. Annoyingly, like it'd be so good if it had a filter in here that actually said that it was Scottish Government, you know, who the buying organisation is, but it doesn't tell you that. So what we need to do is go up to the PQQs open to all suppliers, and then we're going to search on the project code, which we took a note of, and I'm going to put contains because sometimes it can have little funny things like there's a space before the number or a space after the number. So we noted down 24516 and we just pray that this works. Yes, there it is. So project code 24516, there's the October 2030 deadline, and that is a title that we're familiar with. So the light blue colour means it's a hyperlink. So if we just click on that, what this does is it brings you to like a front cover page for this, and we can go just down and see, yep, this is definitely the one that we want. Then what you do to note your interest, in the top right hand side is express interest. Now if you want to, I'm not going to do this just now because it can take a while to download, but you could, while you're here, take a printable view of it. So it creates a PDF of the actual tender, which is actually quite handy. You could either print it out or you could just keep it as a PDF. But what it means is you don't have to log into the system to actually see what is required of you. Which means that, you know, if you're doing this collaboratively with somebody else, then you could look at this together and you could decide, right, you do that question, I'll do this question, etc. So it's quite good for that. So what we're going to do, we won't be able to do anything else until we've expressed interest. So I'm just going to push that button there. And it just says confirm that you want to express interest. Yes, I do. Now, once we've done that, we can see we have got more tabs. So these are tabs, even though the colours are a little bit wishy-washy and it's difficult to see that. At the very top, you've got two tabs. You've got the PQQ itself and you've got messages. We'll come back to messages in a second. Within the PQQ, you have got settings, which is that front cover that we talked about. And you have also got the buyer attachments and then your actual response. So first thing I would do is go to buyer attachments. So here you can see we've got a lot of attachments here. And rather than go in and download each one at a time, which you can do, but then you risk not, you know, missing one. You don't risk missing one. You can do a mass download, and right, so some of the file names are very long, which means that they might not actually download very easily. So we'll just have to watch out for that. Now, there was one that I noticed where it says do not download. Just trying to see if I can find it. It was one that was at the end. Template. No, I don't see it. So I'm just going to download all of these files. And you can see in that top right hand corner of my screen that it's downloaded these, and I can go into the folder and see all of these here in my downloads folder. So these are all of the ones here, and we've got instructions for bidders. So one of the first things I would do is have a look at the instructions for bidders. So I'm just going to open this up now. Just going to scroll through and see if there's anything in particular that we want to pull out. But obviously I'm not going to read this word for word. This is something you can do in your own time. So we'll show you how to use the clarification request, which is the messages, show you how to do that. Tells you about all the documents which we have got now in our downloaded folder. Talks about confidentiality. Conflicts of interest, right? So completing and submitting the DPS. So the only way to do it is through the PCST, which is what I'm showing you just now. All of it must be in English. It's basically kind of a self-certification, so you're completing it yourself, but they will ask for proof at some point. So they'll ask for accounts and insurance documents, etc. at some point. So the criteria, which is quite important, let me make this bit bigger for you. So let me make this even bigger. So they are looking for, there is a financial standing workbook which we'll look at, which has to be completed. It doesn't say here what the pass-fail criteria are, but I'm hoping it will actually say in the document itself. They will also look at the financial ratios from your latest accounts. They are looking for you to have professional risk indemnity insurance of £1 million, employers of 5 million, and public of 1 million. They are also going to carry out a Dun & Bradstreet risk assessment on the financial health of your business. You can, if you want, do that in advance yourself. Go into Dun & Bradstreet website and carry out one of these, but you don't have to, because it's something the Scottish Government will do. Okay, as well as the financial workbook, there is also a technical and professional ability workbook, which we'll have a look at, and that includes things like your experience as well. And there's an environmental work plan. They are looking for ISO accreditation. I'm not sure. I think this is worthy of a question if they haven't already answered it. Whether this is mandatory or not to have these accreditations. It does say it's pass-fail, but quite often the or equivalent will mean that there is something else that you can have instead. So it's worth trying to find out, if you don't have these ISO accreditations, what else is there that's required. Okay, so I think it gives a bit more detail on what they're looking for. So if the higher the value of the projects that you see you can do, then the more turnover they're asking you to have. So if you are a low turnover business, then do check this out, because so just say your turnover is £400,000 per year, then you would only be eligible to apply for the £0 to £100,000 projects in that value band. So have a good read of this document just to make sure that you understand it. It's put what the different ratios are that they're asking for, and what the minimum requirement is. So for example, the current assets over current liabilities needs to be at least 0.8, and the debt ratio needs to be less than 0.8. Net profit margins looking to be more than 2% or equal to 2%. And then they have got this document in here. You just need to provide one example for each lot that you're applying for, and those lots must not exceed, the description must not exceed more than 300 words. Okay. They're looking for suppliers to commit to joining the Construction Quality Improvement Collaborative Charter, and they've provided a link to that. There's also the environmental and climate change form that needs to be completed. So we've had a little trot through that, enough to give you a flavour of what's required, and that does tie in with what they said at the event that happened a couple of weeks ago as well. So at the moment I'm in attachments. What I want to do now is go to my response and just have a quick look to see. So even though we've expressed interest in it, it's now saying to us, do you intend to respond, or are you declining to respond? As you see in here, I can click here and I'm not allowed to do anything. It won't let me touch any of the answers yet. It's just got what has come through from a previous tender that I've done. So in this case, in order to complete it, I'd have to say intend to respond. So just to take you through this at the moment, just very briefly, we'll come back to it in a lot more detail. There are two envelopes up here. It's still called an envelope, qualification response and a technical response. You can see that there are 10 mandatory qualification responses and 2 mandatory technical responses. The good thing is that as you go through completing this, you can always return to this page and get a feel for how many questions you've got left and how well you're doing with it. Now, if I still try to go in here, I still can't answer any of these questions and I still can't change them. The reason is this little thing over here is a pencil, and sometimes you'll see this icon used for edit. So you still have to go in and edit this response. So you can see now, I now have the option of going in and answering something. So if I put in here, have I read the response guide? Yes, and put in today's date. You can click on this little calendar and it's quite neat. It takes you to that calendar. So just say I'm going to save and exit that now. Previously there was 10 mandatory responses. I've now only got 8 missing. So you can just do that anytime you want, save and exit, and it takes you back up to where you are. You can see that it saved those 2 answers. One little tip from me is that it does log you out really, really quickly if you haven't done anything. And even if you're scrolling through and you're reading it and you're reading different things, and even if you are typing in a box, it will still take that as being inactive. So what I would say to you is save, 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 save all the time. So I have got responses already in here because I've previously used PCST, but the first section is just about your company. The second section is about the size of your organisation. You need to edit it every time you come in, press that little pencil to come down. So whatever size of business you are, you would choose a size of business. Are you going to be supported employment, which means that a certain percentage, so if I say yes, then it'll say what percentage of my workforce is disabled or disadvantaged, and then say what type of disadvantage there is. But I'm going to say no to that one. If you are in the UK, the next question is not applicable because you're a UK business. Now, if you are participating with others, then it will start to ask you more questions. So if you're maybe a consortium and you're bidding as a consortium, then you'll have to answer this. They will also ask you for a single procurement document for each of the bodies. And the way that you do that, this little thing over here is a warning triangle. I think it should be a paperclip. Because it's actually an attachment. So if you click on there, then that will bring up the document, which is the Word version of the SPD, which all of them can upload. And again, just a wee quirk of the system is you're only able to upload one document. You can't just, some systems like this, you can upload one, then upload another, then upload another. So if you are consorting with more than 2 members, and there's maybe say 3 of you, then you'll have to zip the 2 SPDs together and then upload them as a zipped file, just in case you do need to do that at some point. So I'm going to go back and say no here because I'm not applying, I'm just going to apply on my own. Then you've got to indicate which lots it is that you want to apply for. So let's just say I'm just going to go for lot 1. Then it's details of the person. I'm going to just scroll through that. So I am the representative of my company, so I'll put in there. This question, do you rely on the capacities of other entities to meet the selection criteria? So the selection criteria are things like the financial standing, the insurance, the technical and professional things that are going to be asked about. So if you do not meet the criteria, so for say, for example, you don't meet the turnover requirement, then you might be applying with another company so that you can meet the turnover requirement. And if so, you would answer yes. And again, it'll ask you for more information and the SPD again. But in this case, we're answering no. Do I intend to subcontract any of the work? Answer no, but if you put yes, again, you'll be asked for more information. Then we come on to all of the questions I call the mass murderer questions. These are exclusion criteria. What it means is if you answer yes to some of these, any of these, then it may mean that the Scottish Government does not want you on their DPS and you'll be automatically excluded. The good thing about this system, mostly but not always, if you answer it incorrectly, then it asks you for all of the details of it. So it's a wee bit of a reassurance that you've answered it correctly. So just go through and answer no for these. I usually put not applicable where I can, rather than leaving a blank box. And the reason for that is once you've answered all of the mandatory questions, then it tells you how many optional questions there are left. And if you leave that blank, then it will count that as optional. And it's always just a bit disconcerting because what you want is that all of the mandatory and all of the optionals have been answered. So just go through and answer these appropriate to your organisation. And these 1.36.1 refers to what PCST has allocated as a number to that. But this bit here, Part 3B2, these refer to the actual single procurement document. So Part 3, it's actually Roman numerals in the SPD itself. But just in case you wanted to refer to a particular question, you could use either of these references when you're referring back to the Scottish Government. So then we are, have you paid your national insurance and your social security contributions? Yes. Have you breached environmental law? No. Social law? No. Labour law? No. And then you've got things like being bankrupt and in arrangement with creditors and liquidation and so on. Okay, so once we get past all of these, that's all section 3D. Now these ones, for some reason, these do not populate automatically. Even if you've used PCST before, you have to go in and answer, and they also don't have that little fail-safe or more questions popping up if you get them wrong. So have you been guilty of supplying information, of misrepresenting the information? So the answer is no. Have we held this information? No. But unable to supply supporting documents? No. And unduly influenced a decision? No. So I would probably actually save this response if it was a real one, because I've already taken my time coming down to this point, and I've changed some responses. So just to make sure that I don't lose that, I'll save it. The annoying thing is it doesn't have an anchor. So you have to scroll all the way back down to where you were, which is just coming up. So these are the ones that we responded to most recently. Now, in here, it's asking if there is a trade register that you are a member of. So if there is a trade register, then you could put that in there. And you could put, if there's a reference number or something, you could put that in there too. Now, here it's asking for you to put your turnover. So it's the last 2 years turnover that you need to put in here. And you've got to upload the workbook. Now, yeah, so there's the opportunity to do that there. So you could put your turnover in here. And then if you, depends what type of files, sort of accounts you file. If you file the full set of accounts that's got the turnover in it, then you could put a link in here to Companies House so that they could download the accounts themselves. But if it's the case that you do micro accounts or abbreviated accounts, then the turnover isn't shown there. So then I would just put in here not applicable. So I would put in here, say 2023, 1,200,000, and then if you've not been trading for the entire period, which I have, so then I'll put 2022, it was 1,120,000, something like that. I'm not wanting to save these changes, by the way, because this will appear in future ones if I do that. So then you've got to attach the workbook, which is in the attachments area. So we'll come back to that just now. Let's just do what we can without attaching anything. So you see up here the 1 million, the 5 million and the 1 million. So you can see here that you do have it or you don't have it, but you will commit to it. Now if you say no, I can't commit to obtaining it, then that will be a fail. So really the only two answers available to you are yes, I have this, or no, I don't, but I'll commit to obtaining it. If like me, you're not, if you're only an employee, which is probably quite unlikely in your case, then you would say it's not applicable. So answer appropriately in there. And as again, you can see, I've just put that it's not available electronically anywhere, so I'm putting not applicable in there. I don't know what they're really wanting for you to do in here because you're already doing the workbook. So I think I would just put not applicable in here and not applicable in here. Right, so it's asking for ISO accreditation or equivalent, and you can see whether or not you've got those, yes or no. It is a mandatory requirement, so I think, again, in order for you to progress and pass this, you would have to say yes. If you've put no, so if I put yes, then that's fine, it takes me on to the next bit. If I say no, then it asks me what else I can do to pass that section. So, and it's the same with this one. So if I say yes, that's okay. And then we come to the end, and it's, you know, your name, your position, where you are, the date, sorry, for the place. So I am actually just going to save that because I want to see, I'm going to save and exit because I want to go back to the top, and I've got one missing mandatory response and I know what that is. I haven't uploaded the financial standing workbook. So before I go on to the next bit, which is the technical response, I'm going to just go back into what we downloaded and open up the financial standing workbook. And again, I'm not going to actually go through and complete this, but I will just quickly go through it. So it has got the instructions here. It's all the yellow cells that you need to complete, and they will be in pounds. There will be a turnover assessment. So if I go in here, so you would put your name in here, company X, put what your national insurance, not your national insurance, your company number in there. And then so you've got this chance here to say, so it puts your company name automatically in there. You can choose which lots are all defaulted to no at the moment, but just say I put in here I want to do all of the Edinburgh, city of Edinburgh. Where's Edinburgh? Why can't I see Edinburgh? Oh, city of Edinburgh. Look in the wrong place. So I would change that to yes. So just say I want to do City of Edinburgh, and I'll do East Lothian, and I will do Mid Lothian because I only want to do work that's close to me. But I also want to be able to do the higher values in these areas. So you just click the down arrows there. I'm not going to do anything over 1 million because my company's not big enough. So I've done that. I'm only going to do these 3 areas in lot 1, just for the purpose of showing you. So that goes over here. So I'm going to put my company name in again, company X, and SC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've done that, these bands, and then we've got, you can put in the financial year, so this is 2023 and 2022, my year-end accounts. And then in here, what I would do is I put in my turnover and all of the information they've asked for from my profit and loss account and from my balance sheet. And what that will do is it will automatically calculate these ratios for me. So it's quite a nice little one. And then here, it will tell me whether or not I've passed the turnover requirement. So just say I put my turnover in here as 1250, 123, 1250, 123. It says that I'm okay for these lower value contracts, but I don't have enough turnover for up to £1 million ones, so I wouldn't be able to apply for those. So it's actually trying to help you see what the outcome of this would be without it, so you can actually see what you've passed and what you've failed in here. So it tells you here overall. So for example, the audit report, I think I would ask a question. Because a lot of companies don't have to have their accounts audited because you're below a certain turnover size. So you wouldn't actually have, there should be another option in here which says not applicable because we don't have an audit carried out. I'm just going to take the best one at the moment, and accounts filed on time, accounts filed on time. And then you can see down here that these are both passes. But I would, if I was you and I don't have an audit carried out, I would ask that question, and they might change the spreadsheet, or they might just tell you to choose that option. Comments would only be really if you've got something like, just say you did have some qualifications, then you would put you'd put your answer in there. Okay, so that is the financial workbook, which you would then upload. I'm going to just save it somewhere. Save it in my documents. I'll just call it test. Just so I can show you how to upload that one. Okay, is everybody still with me? Any questions so far? Anything coming up that you want me to cover again? Just going to go back into this qualification response.
Nothing via the chat yet.
Nope. And I'm going to, I wish it could take you as well to the ones that you haven't done. You know, that like if you clicked on that mandatory one, if it could take you to that actual question, but you just have to scroll all the way through. I know that it's quite far down the financial bit, so I'm just going to scroll down. I think it was before there. Yep, so here's one. Here it is here. It's got a star beside it. This little asterisk means that it's a mandatory question and I haven't completed it. So I am going to upload my financial risk assessment now. So go to documents and date modified. It's at the top. So I'm just going to take that, and you can see Finley. Sorry, got a dog barking now. Finley. I've got this uploaded here now. Sorry about that, just saving you for some barking going on in the background there. So you can see now I've uploaded the document and you can see the file title there. If at any point you need to delete that little waste bin, that's a bucket, just click on that and it will remove the attachment and you can re-upload a different version of it. So if I go up to the top, I'm going to save and exit again. All the questions are answered. It's such a good feeling when you see that there. So all the questions are answered in there, and we go into technical response. And if we go down, there are two things. There's only two things to do in here. One is which is complete the technical workbook, and one complete the environment workbook. And again, once you've done that, you would do exactly the same. Browse, go to your document and upload it. And obviously that's the wrong one because we haven't done that one yet. So the last thing we need to do on this is actually go to these two documents. And they're in my File Explorer and they're in my Downloads. Downloads. So these two things that we need to do are the last two things we need to do. And it's document 4 and document 5. So let's just take a look at document 4. I know the Scottish Government did go through this a bit with you on the session a couple of weeks ago. Is it opening? Oh, destination path is too long. Right, so let me just see if I can change it. Properties. Right, now this is interesting because I can't open this and I don't know if everybody would be having this problem. It might be a question that's already been answered, but if not, we'll go into the Q&A and ask them if they could rename this to have a shorter name so that we can open it. In this one, it's going to open okay. And I'm just going to pull it over on here. So this is the environment one. Scottish Government, you know, they have to, you know, practice what they preach. So they ask everybody else to do a lot of procurement to use a lot of environment and climate change. So you would expect anything they do to be the same. So again, you put your company name in here. And your company number, and this is a pass fail, so we've got 300 words here. Right, so this is just about environmental management measures you've got. So if you need help with basically what sort of things do you do that have an impact on the environment? And how do you minimise those? Now, if you've bid for other contracts, you will have this kind of thing to hand. In fact, probably your most difficult bit is going to be keeping this to 300 words or below, because you've probably got quite a lot of content for environmental factors just because of what you do. In here, there is a climate change plan as well with your scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. I've seen this before, the City of Edinburgh Council use this as well. So you can put in here what you're going to do to reduce your impact, your carbon impact each year. So like do you use fuels? Yes. Do you use gases, etc.? Yes. Do you have vans or heavy goods vehicles? Yes, I'm sure you do. Do you buy in electricity? Yes, you probably do. So these sorts of things, you just put which ones you do use and then the year, so 2024, what you're going to do. So you might say switch to green electricity, renewable source electricity. And then you'll have the source up here is electricity. So you can put all your measures that you're going to do over the years, so 2024, 2025. And remember, they're not looking for you to be climate change experts. What they are looking for is for you to show that you think about this and it is part of your business culture, really, that you are thinking about how you can reduce impact on the environment. I think especially important with this one, you know, with civil engineering. So if we go here, I'm going to go to the same place as before, just do that test. Save. And then when I go back in to my PQQ, I can browse and take the environmental one and pop it in there, and there it goes. So now I'm going to save and exit, and all my questions are answered. So I would now be ready to submit in real life if I wanted to. And I would click submit. I'm not going to do that obviously because I am not applying for to be a civil engineering firm on this DPS. So if I go into, I want to have a quick look though at messages. So let's have a look and see what messages have been received. So application assessment, timelines, instructions. The instructions has been updated. The lot selection has not been updated. As bidders can apply for one, multiple, or all of the lots. In this, in the workbook, it asks you to indicate that, so that's fine. Don't see anything about the length of that name causing problems. So I might just put something in it and it'll show you how to create a live message. So this is about an administration query, but I'll put it in qualification envelope. And I'm going to say it's the technical workbook. And in here, I'm just going to say good afternoon. I am having difficulty opening the technical workbook due to the file name length exceeding, being too long. Too long. Would you please upload the file with a shorter file name? Thank you. And that's all. You could put an attachment in if you want. So just say you did a screenshot of what it was showing you, you can do that. In this case, I'm not going to do that. And again, you can save it as draft if you maybe think, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not quite sure if I've got this wording right or I need more information. Rather than just losing it, you could just save it as a draft. In this case, I'm going to send it as a message. Now in this, you can see I've got a sent message in here. I can see whether it's been read by Scottish Government, and I can also see if it's been replied to. So go back to received, and what it does is it also marks when you've opened it. So you would definitely want to go in here and read all of these messages before you proceed any further. So if I want to go back to my PQQ, I'll go back to PQQ, go to my response, And there it is. There's all my answers there. I could, if I wanted to, submit that response. And you can see it's not yet submitted. You have to click submit response. If I go back to home and go into PQQs, when you come in the next time, you won't need to do all that searching for it. It'll be in my PQQs, and there it is at the top. And you can see it's running. So I would then click on that and get back to the same place. So next time you come in, it's much easier. You're home. You can either go dashboard. I just go PQQs, my PQQs, and then it's at the top there. And then you can carry on and do all what you need to do. So I think they've made this, it may seem complex to start with. Actually, there's really just the 3 documents you need to complete, and each of them aren't that onerous. So it's not really a huge amount of work, I don't think, for you. But that's me finished my run through of it. I'm now going to stop sharing my screen for just now, and then we'll take any questions you've got.
Just stop the recording there.